We have relationship coming right up now. And the topic this morning is men and the Omugwo conversation in marriage. Miracle Ihoma is here with us. Good morning. Great to have you.
Good morning.
What concerns men with the Omugwo conversation?
Yeah. Okay. So there was a particular article where some men began to complain about how that their wives are taken away from them during Omugwo, and sometimes these women get to stay as long as 6 months, 1 year, and then that's obliterates their own need, and all of that in that period, and so it looks like some sort of protest coming from men.
Okay.
To say that men give us back our wives in that sense.
But those men, when the woman that left was pregnant, didn't they have Omugwo? Didn't somebody else come to help her?
Of course, they did. Which is
What's the validity of their consent, as it were, if somebody else had to be there? Because for a nursing mom, we know that there are some nursing moms that not by their own wish or by their own will, have had to maybe take care of themselves alone, but it is not optimal.
Yeah.
You need help at those particular points in stages. And as it is, family comes in, either the mother-in-law or the mother comes in to help at this particular point in time. So, I don't know, I would want to question the validity of such a protest, as it were. That's for me.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things to consider right here. Right. First of all, just like you've said, and I understand what you're saying, to say that for me, the way I even see it is, okay, what needs are you talking about? Is it food? For some men, it's food. It's, nobody to take care of the house in that sense. That's why it's very important that you are self-sufficient as a human being. You maintain your individuality even in a marriage, right? Because in cases like that, you would need to bring out your resourcefulness in those particular areas. Because before you got married, who was cooking for you? Before you got married, who was taking care of the home or your home for you? So it's very important that you are self-sufficient and resourceful, right? That's why a lot of these things are life skills. They're not necessarily marriage skills, right? I tell people that cooking, for instance, is for humans, not for women. Right? So as a human being, you should learn how to cook. As a human being, you should know how to take care of your space. It doesn't have to be the female gender that does it, right? So that's one area to consider. But another aspect of that conversation is the fact that, it's also important for those women who are going for Omugwo to also be considerate. Everybody needs to be considerate in that setting. Owing to the fact that, I have my commitment is first to my husband. And vice versa. My commitment as a husband is first to my wife before my children, right? And to say that whatever it is I'm going to do, which is my third point, has to be from a point of agreement. So I can't just do things based on my own volition. We are in a union together, and when I'm taking decisions that concerns or is going to affect the other party, it's important that I run it through them, so that we are in agreement. So say, okay, as you are going for this Omugwo, how long are you going to spend? It makes sense to spend 1 month. It makes sense to spend 2 months, right? And all of that. Not just to go for the Omugwo and then come back after 6 months, without a reasonable explanation. So all of this should be put into context and into consideration when women are going for Omugwo and things like that.
Okay, so there was also the question about how some women, incidentally, it was trending on social media a few days, about a week ago, about how some women who go for Omugwo, as it were, are not actually even helpful. That some of them just go and it's like a vacation for them. So they leave their husbands, go to these places.
Yeah.
It's vacation. They are not helping to maybe clean the baby or maybe helping with house chores or maybe even helping with cooking. And as at that point, they go for a mini vacation. They are sitting down, getting somebody else to get food for them, and all of that. How, in that particular scenario, people are talking about, look, okay, so what's the point? Why doesn't she go back? But maybe because it's a mother or because it's a mother-in-law, there's that thing about being sensitive or being careful so as not to hurt somebody else's, as it were, as though they are goodwill towards you, as though not to hurt their feelings or such in some sort of way. But that conversation was had online. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes. So I even had a friend who complained to me recently about, how a mother-in-law came to visit in the UK, and then it was, in fact, things became even more complex for them, you know, than it should be, because they now had to be serving her instead of her.
She came from Nigeria.
Yes, she came from Nigeria.
That one, if now within Nigeria, yeah, not different case. They can't leave here. They go
Yes,
there.
and they were the ones serving her, you know, instead of the other way around, right? So yeah, that's very much valid, and of course, a lot of mothers don't just go for those omugwos for the sole purpose of taking care of children. For some mothers, it's some sort of vacation,
Yeah.
it's some sort of relief. Let me go and relax. For some, it's let me reconnect with my child. It's been a while I spent a good amount of time with my child. So it's a lot of those things for mothers, not just going there to take care of the child alone. Maybe there should be some orientation in that sense. And that's why it's very good for mother and child to have a good relationship where you can effectively communicate to your mom and say, or to your mom, right? So if it's the guy's mom that is coming,
exactly. That's where it's now a
the
little
guy
bit,
comes in,
especially when it's the guy's mom. Optimally, I don't know if you are the one, if you can answer that question, but optimally, if both of them are available, because there are some times when maybe due to a number of issues, mom is not available, or maybe she's passed on or something like that. Yeah. And then maybe the mother-in-law has to do it at this particular point in time, which can be a little bit, because the mother-in-law doesn't know the woman as much as her mother would have known, or some mother something. It's almost like, as at that point in time, it's almost like two different people coming to meet at that first time. So there's a lot of even getting to know each other before understanding. In such scenarios, how can one ensure that they handle it in such a way that they don't, cause friction? Because at times we've seen situations where where a mother-in-law is the one that does the Omugwo, and then that's the beginning of friction between her and the daughter-in-law.
Yes. Of course, that's where if it's the mother of the man, and anybody actually, the person whose child it is has a lot of role to play there, because you are like the middleman. So you should create some sort of level playing field, bring some sort of soft landing for both mother and child, because a lot of the times, just like you've said, the other party is careful about how they want to relate with the mother-in-law. Oh, I don't know if she would like this, or if, she would be cool with that. So it's now in the place of the other partner, whose mother it is, to now speak to the mother about certain things, about expectations, and then speak to the partner as well about those expectations and things like that. And then be that middleman that brings or bridges that gap between the both of them, to have that level playing field for the both of them. So yeah.
Because as at that particular point, I feel like the mother of a child, or the nursing mother at that time, is quite vulnerable. She's dealing with quite a number of issues. I mean, there could be postpartum depression and all of that. So in that particular scenario, benefit of doubt in this particular time should be given to the nursing mother at this point. But she's the one who's vulnerable. She's the one who needs all the care and all of that. But like you said, being considerate and talking about it, like you said, from the other side of the woman who's living to a house, being considerate and all of that. But you see, where, like I said, in some kind of situations, friction does happen, and the man, like you mentioned, can come in between and all of that. And so this scenario, what is the case of where that doesn't happen? What can a nursing mom do where the man doesn't come in or doesn't try to sort the situation? What can a nursing mom, or what word would you give to the mother doing the Omugwo do in a situation whereby maybe the man is not around in such a scenario? In
such a scenario, there is really how to deal with in-laws, right? In one of my books, I talked about an acronym called PRAISE, where one of the things you do is to praise your in-laws, right? Anybody who you praise would get their guards down. So you need to praise them. You need to respond respectfully to their intentions, right? You need to accept them. You need to interview them, right? Because everybody wants to be interviewed. So for instance, if I walk up to my mother-in-law, and no matter how she is, and say, Mom, I just want to know, tell me, how is it, living with a man what do you think are the keys to having a successful marriage? Now, you are coming in as a student, but then you're making her vulnerable. Because when it begins to share, then there's that connection that happens between the both of you, right? So those are some of the ways. The S there is steadily serve her, right? And then the last one there is exceed her expectations, right? So whatever it is that she wants, exceed those expectations. Because what you want to do is for her to buy into you. And once she does that, see, mother-in-laws can be sweet, right? And if they buy into you and they get to like you, in fact, they would even begin to take sides with you in that sense. So you need to just be tactical about how you go about it, in establishing that relationship between yourself and your in-law.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah. I hope people are able to gain something from that one. Thank you, Miracle. All right, that's it on our relationship discussion this morning. We'll take a time out now. When we get back on the other side, it's the second lap of the show.
Thank you.